Well, welcome to the start of this, what should be a long series on how to create a clone of Dungeon Master. Today I wanted to talk about gathering resources. So just to remind you the kind of things that we're going to need, I'll just play the monogame version to... So that's the first resource we need to gather, that swoosh sound with the faster than light logo. Then we've got this Dungeon Master animation, which are actually one and the same. It was a video. Obviously once we get in, we've got, well, even here you can see we've got the graphics that create the entrance when I hit the enter. We've got the doors that went in, and then we've got all the graphics for the dungeon, for the controls here, and then as we step through the junction we've got text files. Then we've got all the graphics that are used both on the walls, the floor, even the ceilings. And then there are kind of the sounds that you heard. Plus we've got kind of hidden assets in a way. For example, this frame is centered in a particular place on this wall. So we also need to have some kind of idea of how to place these in the correct position so that the X and Y coordinates of this frame, and indeed of the image of the champion in there, those are needed to be calculated in advance so that we know where to put them. So for example, if I turn that way and step back, we've then got the same frame, different graphic, different coordinates. So all these things need to be available, either hard coded into the game or imported as some kind of text file or database. So that's what I mean by assets. We've got to find all these. Now obviously the first and most important is to get all the graphics for the game that have perhaps already been created by other people. So we'll shut the game, minimize this. Now a lot of stuff that you will need can be found in this particular website here. The link will be in the description. So just about anything you'd want to know about, to find this one I searched for Dungeon Master items, and it's shown me all the items. So these again are part of the assets that we would need to put in. The graphics for them are all in the resource, which is I'll show you in a moment. But things like setting up the items as objects, we need to know the weight, the actions, what they can do, the damage, the distance, all this stuff, it all has to be included at some point. So that was just an example. Now if you do a general search for Dungeon Master graphics, you might find the same one that I did, which is this one here. Again, it's kind of linked with the one I was just showing you. This is the dungeonmaster.com forums. A lot of the stuff on here is quite old. When was this one posted? 2000. So but it's still relevant. Now I found this one initially and I thought, oh, you can download DM Java, which is the Java edition of Dungeon Master, and then you click this and oh dear, disappointingly it's dead. Okay, so I've reloaded that page. So this one we know is no use whatsoever. When we come down and look through, you'll see further down on post number 10, if I can just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here, this one. He has now mirrored what was supposed to have downloaded from there, and the one that is of interest is this second one down here, French page. So if we click on that, it will bring us to this link here. So this is obviously still going, and then down here it's got the Java version, and you can download it. Now the important thing is here is this one, license, logiciel gratuit, and it means free software. So from this I'm assuming that if we download this, that we can use the assets in at least an educational format without having to worry about copyrights and all the rest of it. So I'm working on that principle. Now when you click this button, it will open a new web page and at the same time download the assets here. So if you watch up here where it's downloading, if I press that one, it goes to a new page and we are downloading. So you can see we've got this now downloading all the assets here. So this is kind of an automatic download. You don't need to press anything. The reason it took a few moments is that I've got an old-fashioned solid, not solid state, but an old-fashioned disk drive that switches itself off after a short while, and it took a while to boot up in order to download this. So now I've already done this download, so I won't actually be opening this up, but I'll now take you to the next stage, which to see what this has got in it. So we'll minimize that to get that out of the way. So here's the downloaded file here. I've already created, for the purposes of this tutorial, in my Dropbox folder, a new Dungeon Master clone folder. I've already uploaded a bunch of assets into it ready for use, but I wanted to show you what was in here. So what I'm going to do is to unpack that into a specific folder. There we go. It's currently just unpacking everything there. There we go. Didn't take too long. So this is kind of the extracted files here. So we'll open that up, and here we are. So you can actually play. I don't think I've actually tried for a while, because the last time I tried it crashed. I think there's a particular version of Java that you're supposed to use, but we're not too bothered about what other people have done with making their own one. I mean, by all means look at it, see what. But great thing is that all this stuff here is for us to make use of. So the most important one here is in maps, and you've got quite a lot of stuff in here. It says in fact 748 items, so you can see we've got a lot of images that are used in the game. Now I've been all through these and kind of separated them out. There's the monsters and so on, but you can see there are a lot of small images, and they're not going to be terribly helpful when we're trying to import images into Monogame using the content pipeline, MGCB or whatever it's called. So we need to kind of make something that is going to allow us to look at these and deal with them in a more sensible way. So if I just step back out of this and go to the assets one, so what I've got here is I've called them sprite sheets, but that's probably an incorrect name, because these are that one you could call a sprite sheet, because all of the images there are the same size. But we're now going to show you how to create these sprite sheets. So this is the one used for playing the not playing the introduction, but once you've got to the first stage here, you can see this entrance hall, and you can see two doors here. So these are using the Gimp editor, which is free, which is always good, and this one has got a background image which I have called hash background. It's important to put the hash in because we don't want this layer to be processed when we're doing that at a later stage. Then obviously we've got the door frame, which is this one here, and then we've got the left door, which is this one here, and the right door. So you'll see that each of these items, if I take for example the door frame and right click on it, layer attributes, it tells us that the offset X and Y is 0, 0. So this starts in the very top left corner, so we don't need to worry about that. But more important, if I click on it and got layer boundary size, it tells us that it's 640 by 480 pixels. So that, again, we now know that if we want to extract that image from our sprite sheet, we have to use the rectangle that's 0, 0, 640 by 480. And similarly with the doors here, they will have the different sets of coordinates. So once we've created a sprite sheet in XCF format which has every single image as a separate layer, then we can use that to extract the rectangles from it and use that in Monogame to get the images. So with this one we would then go to File, Export, and export this as a PNG image, so that the image itself is a flat PNG file, but it is has a transparency layer is kept in PNG files. And of course we can then use this file to get the information about the rectangles, but we don't use the XCF file directly in our game. We would use the exported PNG. So what we'll need to do is to process the graphics. If I just bring back the folder here, so this is what we downloaded. So the sounds, as an example, when it opens it up, I think there's quite a lot of sounds in here. So the sounds are there ready to be just dealt with, so that they can be incorporated. They're all in wave format. So for example, we've got the bump sound to when the champions hit the walls or whatever you wanted to do. So those are fine. We don't need to do any processing with those, but we do need to get these images into here. So what I'm going to do, here's my GitHub repository. So it's I'll put the link in the description, of course, and we've got at the moment these first two are kind of there, but don't at this stage go to them. They were an early one that I put in to try and get things running. We're not working on the code yet, so and they're out of date anyway, so leave these two for the time being. I'll let you know when they're kind of ready to go. So assets is where we're going now. The one that I wanted to, I've got these again. These are all real assets that I'm using, including the Gimp XCF files, but for the purposes of today I've just got this one set up for you, and it's got the entrance door, left, right and open PNG files, so you can download them. Again, I'll put this in the description, so you can download these for today's tutorial using Gimp. Okay. Right, so once you've got Gimp open and running, go to File, New. Let's come out some weird place down here. Now, for the purposes of this first one, that we're going to kind of copy what I've got down here and show you how I did it. So for the image size, use 1110 by 480, and then click on the advanced options. You can leave pretty much everything as it is except the fill width. and it's important to choose transparency. So you're creating a new image which is 1110 by 480, which is the same size as the one behind me here, using transparency, and then click OK. So we've basically got the same as you see here, but with nothing on it. Now the next thing to do is to go to download those images I just showed you on my GitHub page. So I'll go to them because I've already got them. So here's my folder in my YouTube tutorial place, and I've got the 3 images here. So what you can do is you can control select or shift select, so you want them all, and then just drop them onto here. That will take a moment or two to incorporate them. So we've now got, as you can see, the 3 images there kind of all dumped in the center. So if I pick, oops, on the wrong setting here, I've got to use this first one here to select them rather than creating a, so we want to do selections none. That's it, that will disappear. So we're on the first icon here so that I can move these around. The size of this image I chose deliberately because it incorporates all 3 of them. So we can put that roughly in place. That's in the wrong place. Let's move that around. No, it's still in the wrong place. Let's put that there, and that roughly up here. Now this is at kind of non-magnified resolution. Before we go any further, just select the background here. Now this background is the default one that's when you create a new project. Now this is important. Right click on background, go to edit layer attributes, and just put a hash sign in front of background, then OK. That's because when this image is processed by a C# application, which we will be moving on to in another tutorial, it will ignore this layer. So it's not going to find a rectangle for that layer that says it's at 001110 by 480, because we don't need to know that. So that's to be ignored. These can be, I think they probably can be left. I'll just check whether I put that down as different names. Anyway, no, we'll do that in a moment. So we've changed the name to background. Now the entrance door open PNG, again right click, edit layer attributes, and we're going to change the name to door frame C5 dot C5, or make it a capital C just to be consistent, and then we're going to click on OK. Actually, what I could have done, yeah, let me just go back to that. So we've got the edit layer attributes. Doorframe C5 is this new name. You can see the offset X and Y here is currently at -38. So we'll set that to 0 and 0. Press OK, and you'll see that it has moved now into the correct position on there. Now the entrance door left, we're going to change the name of that one, and that one's going to be called to left door dot L5. Let's put that in, left door dot L5. What is the significance of this C5 L5, you're asking me? We'll get to that when we start working on the dungeon, but it's the 5 is telling us that it is drawing layer 5 when we are creating the dungeon. So as you're drawing in Monogame, the order in which you draw the graphics determines what is on top, what you see. So left 5 means it's on layer 5 right at the top. So layer 0 would be right at the bottom, and so it goes on. So it's important that that's a left door 5. Now, to get the positioning of this door, if I magnify by pressing, if I click on the door and press the plus sign and get to 800% magnification, as you can see down here, then everything is moved 1 pixel at a time, so that when I select this and drag it up here to the top and leave, if I can do it, yep, there we go, you can see I've got one strip of the background showing there and none at the top. So this is right at the top, and it is 1 pixel away from its neighbor. We can, while we're at it and it's at this huge magnification, we can also drag the other door, which we haven't yet renamed, to be 1 pixel from there. With luck that should be right on the border, so I'm just going to check. Yep, so that's right on the border, and 1 pixel there, and now I can drop the magnification back down. That's it. So the position of that one we can check now that we've got left door edit layer attributes. It should be 641 because that's a 640 pixel wide, and then at 0. That one's done. We've finished with that one. And then finally this one here we're going to rename and edit the layer attributes. It's already at the correct position, 8540, so we need to change the door, or name rather, to right door dot L5. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at to help me put this tutorial together, I'm looking at a PDF which I have produced, and I'll put this PDF so that you can see it in the GitHub resource, so that you can look at this later on and go with it. So this actually goes a lot further than I intend to go in this video, but that's no problem. I'll put it in the second one as well. So this is showing the C# file that is used to create the rectangles. So that's to come, but that's going to be in there. So everything I'm doing today, you can see how to do it. So the everything here is great. Let's do a file save as. I haven't quite finished, but I like to get these things done. Now I've not used the folder I want to use it in so far, so I'm going to have to kind of look for that. So let's go, that's my, looks as if it's empty at the moment, so I think we can probably save it there. So we don't want to call it untitled, of course, so let's call it start.xcf, and we'll put it in assets. Oh, here we are, Gimp XCF files. I've already created this one. Now I've already got the XCF files for this done, so I'm just going to call this one start.tutorial, just to distinguish it from the ones that are already in there, and I'll save that. Now you can see we've got this white background, and that must be transparent, so I wanted to show you how to fill that with transparency. So what you do is to select, make sure that this area is selected by choosing the door frame button, so that you've got this yellow flash around it. If you don't do this first, everything won't work because it's on the wrong layer. So we're on the selected layer. Right click, add alpha channel. So we right click, layer, transparency, add alpha channel. Doesn't look as if it's done anything, but it should have done. Then we go to the fuzzy select tool. Make sure everything is unticked here. Click in there and you'll see that we've now selected everything in the white area, and with a bit of luck, if we've got this set up correctly, pressing del, yay, there we go, it's deleted that white area. So now you can select none and then file, save. So we've got rid of all the transparent layers. We have named everything correctly here. So the next thing to do is to export. So go File, Export. Let's make sure, are we in the Start Tutorial PNG? Yes, that's fine. It's kind of worked out already that we need to call this one Start Tutorial.png. The only thing I would suggest is that we choose a separate file for the sprite sheets, and then again Start Tutorial PNG. You can see in here I've got all the real ones that I'm using for the game listed, so that's okay because we're just doing this as a tutorial. And then export again, and it's done. So this one is all completed. Let's make sure that it did save. Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes it pops up a little message to say it couldn't succeed. I think it's because I'm saving to an old-fashioned disk, real disk drive, and it sometimes takes a while to kick off. But anyway, so that's done. I've now shown you how to create a sprite sheet in XCF and export it to a PNG file. If I just drop that out of the way, we should be able to see. So that was the gathering resources. Then we've got the assets and Gimp XCF files. We should have our start tutorial. There it is. And if we go up to assets, sprite sheets, again we've now got the original one that I had, the start tutorial PNG. So that's it for this episode.